So welcome to the 11th podcast for Century 21 Leading Edge. I'm Paul Barron, broker of record, and my co-hosts are
Anthony Bungaro, broker partner at Century 21 Leading Edge.
And I'm Tasos Giannakakis, and I'm also a broker and a partner at Century 21 Leading Edge.
Great. Why don't we start, Tas, by you telling us about our shoot location today.
Oh, okay,
Where are we?
We're shooting in my backyard, and anybody that knows me knows I'm always going on and on about my pool. I love having a pool, love swimming back here, and it's my little oasis. So yeah, I'm glad to share it with you guys.
Perfect. So we've been a little while since we've been out there on a podcast, so it's great to be back. I'm going to start by just giving you guys a little bit of an overview of what we're doing with wine tonight. We have our August 22nd golf tournament and wine tasting coming up next month. And what we're doing tonight is we're going to do a pre-tasting of 3 top Chateauneuf du Pape wines so that we can select a wine as the top wine at the golf tournament as selected by the panel of now wine experts.
There you go.
Between Vendetta Media and the broker panel here, we've got the experts in wine now after 11 podcasts. So we've got 3 Chateauneufs. The first one that we're trying is a 2006 Chateauneuf du Pape. And again, Chateauneuf du Pape is my favorite region. We're also going to be trying a 2007 Chateauneuf, and then a little bit of a younger third one is a 2015 Chateauneuf du Pape, and this is a Chateau de Beaucastel. So we're going to be trying those. Let's taste the first one, and we actually started a little while ago. We got a jump start on the wine, but let's cheers, boys.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers,
Cheers,
gentlemen.
guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. Have you guys tried that yet? No.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, there we go.
Very tasty.
Yeah.
So just to give you a little bit about the wine, Chateauneuf is a region in the Rhone Valley, and the grape that they use there primarily is the Syrah, which is the same grape that they use in a lot of Australian wines. And in Australia, they call it a Shiraz. It's really the same grape, but it originally came from that Chateauneuf region. So it is probably makes up the bulk of my cellar and is my favorite wine to drink. So because we're back at it after a little layoff, I thought I would come out with some Chateauneuf.
And there's a lot of pressure here, Paul, because everybody raves about the wine you bring to the golf tournament. So
There you go.
I think we need to make a good choice here, Anthony.
Well,
right?
I'm going to work on it.
Now, the other thing that we could do is just bring all 3. So I don't want you to feel any
Pressure on that?
Any pressure
Oh,
on that at
okay.
all. So let's start talking a little bit about real estate. What's happening in the office, Anthony? What's going on in Markham?
Basically, the biggest complaint, you go back not too far ago, could have been even last month, it was cold, it's raining, when's summer coming? And then all of a sudden we jumped right up to 30 degrees. So where I'm going with that is it's hot, and that's good. There's no complaints. But the standard that I've seen over many, many years is once you're in July, well, it's slowed down. The listings are taking a long time to sell, etc. And in terms of the office, the pulse I've been getting is things are hot. We're getting multiple offers. We're looking at our local stats, of course, being in Markham and Stouffville. And what you're finding is you look at your semis, you look at your townhouses, and go and get some listings, go and get some semis, go and get some they're selling. And they're selling quick, and they're selling close to asking price, and some over. So the pulse is things are really going strong and picking up. And I don't know if it's just, my perception, but that's kind of what I've seen in our offices. So I'm happy about that.
Yep, I
agree.
I agree completely, Anthony. Someone asked me the other day, and I had not looked at our numbers. They said, "Oh, what were our June numbers like?" And I said, "Well, I hadn't looked at them yet." I said, "But I can pretty much guarantee you they're up because the activity in the office was notably up. Seemed to be more people Phones seem to be ringing more.
Yeah.
More listings coming in. Front desk saying, "Hey,
busy.
I'm busy. I've got a lot of stuff, a lot
Yeah.
of listings to load."
Yes.
And that's all fantastic, right?
Yeah.
So and I know that the numbers are up. I don't know the exact numbers. They just got released, and Paul's looked at them already.
Our
but,
numbers guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Looking forward to
what,
hearing
what
the
are
numbers,
the numbers,
Paul.
I will give
Bring
you,
us up to
I will give
speed.
you some data for June. So we had 8,860 sales in June, which is up 10.4% from
Last year.
June of last year. So a significant increase. Total new listing remained at a similar level, and they were actually down 5.7%.
Amount of inventory?
Yeah, yeah. So when you look at inventory staying level or coming down a little bit,
Yeah.
and
Sales up.
going up,
Yeah.
that creates a problem. You know,
Yeah.
we still need more listings. It is still
Yeah.
a seller's market.
Yeah.
And I think that what happens is that we look at markets and there's a lot of pockets that have differentiation
Yeah.
and different things going on, but certainly in the Toronto marketplace,
Yeah.
even in the 905, all kinds of activity. I'm going to drill down on a little bit of the finer points of this, but sales were up 8.5% year over year. And what that means is that we obviously were up 10.4% for June, but when we look at the first 6 months of the year,
Yep.
overall they're up 8.5%, which
That's
is
good.
which is
Positive.
great.
It's
Yeah.
positive.
So just want to drill down on a few numbers here, and you know it's interesting when you look at the actual Market Watch. The Market Watch is a 27-page report, and I just want to talk a little bit about the fact that a lot of times when we quote stats, we're quoting general stats,
Yeah.
right? What's happening in the overall market. So just to drill down on a few things here, this actually looks at drilling down by style. So when we look at detached homes in the 416 and the 905, they represent, in the 416, they represent only about 1,000 of that 8,800 in the 416. But detached homes in the 905 represent 3,200 of the homes that sold. So a total of 4,225 in the detached. In the semis, you have 300 in the 416, 553 in the 905. Townhouses, 1,124 in the 905 and 356 in the 416. And then when we look at the condos, 1,500 in 416 and 650 in 905. And then what's interesting is that when we look at average price, so average price of a detached home is down in the 416 1.6%. So the overall data shows about a 3.5% overall increase from last year in price.
Yep.
But when you drill down and look at detached homes, down 1.6% in 416 and down 0.7 of 1% in 905. And then you go to semi-detached and they're up 5.4% in 416 and 4.3% in 905. Go to the townhouses, they're up 9.2% in 416 and 1.6% in 905. And then condo apartments were up 5.1% in 416 and up 7.7% in 905. So what does this tell us? I think what it tells us is that the stress test that is still going on is affecting that higher end of the market.
Yep.
There is just no room for people to extend themselves, and as a result, it's staying
That
it's staying a little bit
million
stagnant.
plus mark.
Yeah, that million plus mark
It's
is
difficult. It's
just
difficult.
stagnant. So it's interesting to drill down on this, because when we tend to look at stats, we tend to look at the overall marketplace, and really if we're selling a condo in Durham,
Yeah.
that really doesn't apply. We need to be able to drill down.
Yeah.
So the last stat that I'll tell you from the overall is new listings were 15,816 in 2019, which is about the same as 2018 for June, but it's down. Active listings are down 5.7% this year. So we're down at about 19.6 as opposed to 20,008 last year at this time. So when those
which was already low, even
for
low. Last
Yeah,
year's
yeah.
numbers.
So the bottom line is that some agents have listings that aren't selling, but the reality is we need more inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is some areas where it's 1.5 months of
Yeah.
inventory, up to 3 or 4 in some other areas,
Yeah.
but absolutely we need to get out there and list homes. So what I wanted to segue that into was just to talk a little bit about some new software. And I don't think any of the agents are really talking about it yet. Have you guys heard anybody talking about Trendly or the new market reports that are available on Toronto MLS?
No.
I
No?
don't think so.
No? So just to give you a little bit of an insight, Trendly, and we actually produced a sample report for you guys, and I'll just hold this one up, but they'll key in on it. And what this report does is it allows us to go in through Collaborate. So it's only available through Collaborate. And if you go into Collaborate, you go down into the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a thing that says Top CMA and Market Stats. And if you click on that, you're able to pull up a drilled down report that is going to give you the absolute detail of a detached 2-story house in this 1 kilometer radius. It's going to show you what's going on in that keyed in market, right? So this is something that's available. Everybody has access to this stuff. It's a tiered system. So there is market stats that are available, and that's at no charge. There is some extended updates that are available at a fee. There is a CMA function that actually gives you a extremely detailed report, which is also at a additional fee. And when we're talking additional fee, we're talking $200 to $300 additional per year to get each of these other 2 types of reports. I've subscribed to them because I think that they're the greatest thing. We're going to start posting these directly on social media. So it actually doesn't have the function set up yet, but the idea with this is that you can go into Trendly, you can just post it directly from Trendly onto your social media account and start to generate leads and show these market stats and get people to start calling you for those drill down stats for yourselves. So what do your guys think in terms of
that looks great.
what agents can do with that kind of stuff?
Oh, sure. I think that would help them hugely if on a listing appointment, especially, right? Because you've got great stats that are drilled down. Like you said, Paul, earlier, the market can vary so much from one area to another.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me that this is really drilling down on that, right? So
Absolutely.
Again, that generalization is a bit of a challenge sometimes because people read, we joke about, this is what I saw on CP24,
Right.
but what is that? How does that affect my neighborhood, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times on the news they'll quote Canadian stats, right?
Right across the
Korea,
country.
Korea,
Yeah.
announces market is down this much, and then you have to really pay attention because we all know, well, Toronto's the center of the universe according to us.
course, yes.
So really, who cares what's happening elsewhere?
Yeah.
But those stats sometimes,
Are the
right,
national average.
are throw people, right? So
Yeah.
they look at national stats.
That's
Even
so I
if
think
you,
this
if
is
you
great.
look at June stats right now, and I didn't pay close attention to them, but apparently the bottom is falling out in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Or so the headlines would have you believe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if I was in that market, I would drill down and try to understand them better, but clearly not things going as well as they are in the
Yep.
GTA
Yep.
in the Vancouver area. And I
Yep,
think
for
they're
sure.
harder hit by the foreign buyer tax
Yep,
and stuff like
investors.
that. And they've also had a lot of controversy out on the West Coast in terms of FinTrack,
money
and,
laundering.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and I think that a lot of it is hype. I never forget the seminar we were doing, and one of the agents came in, and they were saying that their daughter called them that, "Are you okay, Mom?" because they saw a headline that it's all over for the real estate industry, right? And the way they sometimes post these headlines is that it's to catch attention, and this caught the attention and thought they had to, get some groceries for his mom because things were that bad. But of course they weren't. The other thing that's interesting with the stats is they started to do a lot of tracking of rental stats, and it's interesting. We generate a lot of leads at Century 21 Leading Edge, and in our client care department, we get a huge number of rental leads, and the TREB stats for June is like 9,800 rental condos
really?
were done in June.
Wow.
Brisk market, and a lot of people dismiss that, but I really think, especially in your office and closer to downtown, we really need to have people specializing in this because there's a huge opportunity, right? This is a lot of money, a lot of money in management of these properties, and in dealing with those rental
Tenant, even with the tenants. And I think that a lot of agents that have taken the time to do that business, because I understand that a lot of times busier realtors don't want to deal with rentals. But I think with a lot of agents that do that, it ends up paying off in the long run because those tenants oftentimes become your buyers, right? So you put them into your contact database, and all of a sudden 3 years ago, because you helped them, they're going to be thinking of you when it's time for them to buy something. So definitely seeds worth seeding, right?
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. What are you finding with regards to rentals? Are you finding people working them, not working them, still shying away from them? What are
you're getting both sides, Paul. The funny thing is a lot of comments on rentals. There's more work in a rental than selling a house. So in terms of an agent's standpoint and working hard to earn a living, it's not that they're not wanting to do a rental, but they feel there's a lot of steps involved. But I think you've summarized it very good, Tassis. I said it's not only that these people you do stay in touch with, everybody knows somebody. So it's, when you develop a database of people, even if we're renting, they know people and you're to reach out to them. No, we have a few agents, Paul, in our office that are excellent at rentals, and they'll jump at the opportunity to do it. We have experienced agents, but even a lot of new ones, it's not a bad thing. They find that by going through the walk, showing the properties and doing it, it's also good for training and what have you. But it's an untapped market, I think. It's an untapped market. The way you presented it, that crystallized it even more to me, that the opportunities. A lot of people can't buy right now, so they can get their foot in the door and maybe work on their credit or make a plan.
And you know what, it is interesting is that years ago we had a couple of our agents that specialized in converting renters. So you think about this, we're looking at them having 6 and 8 families show up on a Saturday morning, all coming into their office, doing a complete credit report, and then taking them and showing them rentals, but then having all of that information and say, have you considered buying? And let's look at the alternative ways that we can get a down payment. The new home buyer program that nobody knows about. Right? Do we have any information on that?
Not really. we know that it's been announced, and I think all the financial institutions have a list of questions that they've posed to the government and are waiting for answers. And we don't have answers to a lot of the questions, Paul. But hopefully that helps, right? And I think what you touched on at the end of the day, Paul, we're in the people business. So whether they're buying, whether they're renting, the more people that you are in contact with, guess what? The bigger your business is going to grow.
Everybody, what's the old saying? Everybody needs a roof over their head.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and when we look at those guys that were doing that years ago, they had the flow of people, right? And that activity. And they were probably converting 1 in 5 renters into buyers. So if we think about that, we convert 1 online lead out of 100 into a buyer. And you grab these renter leads, and the truth is that they also develop some amazing systems to take them out, show them 5 properties, and then decide on one. We don't have time to look at 100. We're not buying the mansion, so we need to have a efficient system, and you can really take that system into an efficient system for buyers.
When you say that, Paul, one of the agents that at my office, and this is going back a few years, but when he first started, because he didn't have a lot of leads, he started doing the rentals, and he was popping off 5 or 6 a month because he was concentrating downtown, and he knew the product. So it was kind of like, okay, you called, okay, you need a 2-bedroom. He already knew
where it was.
the 10 that were decent, 2-bedroom units, right? So, and he said the same thing. He said sometimes in 1 week he'd show the same unit to like 4 different people. And so he says, your odds are one of them is going to take it. That market is very brisk. So right down the street from our Winford office is the Crosstown project, and it's had huge buzz, right? They did have a release that the general, I guess, realtor public was invited to, and I think one of our realtors said there was something like 2,000 or 3,000 people there, like insane. Like when you think of that, right? But so this is right at the old Celestica plant, right? So Don Mills in Eglinton, you've got, and the huge part is the subway, right? So you've got the new subway line going in. So I think that's what it is. People are saying, hold on a second, even if I'm not buying this for myself, I'm obviously going to have no problem renting something that's right on the subway line that's, so close to downtown. So, that activity is there, and I think the desire for product like that is there, both for users and for people that see what the rental market is like out there, Paul. And from an investment, they feel pretty darn secure. Like you can tell someone, I can almost pretty much guarantee you're going to rent your unit. Maybe you're going to get $100 less or $100 more, but it's not like you say, okay, I have a condo downtown, I haven't been able to rent it for a year. That you don't hear that, right? Unless it's grossly overpriced.
Right. So there's no way that you would have a vacant property. It doesn't
We've got multiples on rentals on a regular basis,
Right.
which is crazy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Rental condos downtown, and you hear, oh, there's 4 offers. So
And the ones that lose get upset.
They do, right? And landlords are getting picky, right? Because they can, exactly,
So
right?
they should. Yeah.
So
Good point.
Very good. So let's transition a little bit into what's happening with Century 21 Canada.
Yeah.
I know that we're looking to have Chioko Kikino come onto the podcast in the near future to talk about a lot of the great initiatives that Century 21 Canada is doing. But what are you guys seeing with the concierge and what they've started to show people in terms of Core 21?
Yeah.
Do we have a lot of buzz about that? And do you guys know what the status is? Anybody watch the status of the rollout there and what's going on there?
So I believe the latest is that the beta testing is supposed to take place this month in July, right? And that's for the websites.
Yeah.
So I think that, obviously we've had delays with that, so there's been a lot of agents commenting like, okay, come on,
Yes.
when are we getting this, right?
Yeah.
Now, the flip side of that, although we're waiting for that, all of the other stuff that they have put in place, like the Back at You media and all of that, I find that because now Concierge is taking the initiative to teach the agents how to use it, and just get them registered on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Now all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, I didn't realize we had this, right? So concierge is
They don't listen to you. And I,
no,
right?
they don't. They don't.
Right.
They don't. Right. That's kind of the running joke. That's usually how I open up all my office meetings. Right. That I'm surprised anybody read my email. But yeah, all joking aside, I think that when you have someone sit down with you and do it hands-on,
Yeah.
and get you logged in and registered with all of this great stuff that we have on the technology side with Century 21, the likelihood of you then embracing it just really skyrockets because you start to see results, right? So all of a sudden you say, well, wow, I didn't even realize we had this, concierge set me up for it. And a week later, I'm getting a lead on social media with something that I didn't even realize I had a month ago, right? So that's pretty cool, right? And I do think we're getting a lot more buy-in on all of that stuff, right?
Which is fantastic.
Yep.
And I guess with Core 21, as you say, the alpha testing is going
Yeah.
on right now, and they're moving to beta testing as we move into July. It's delayed, and not to make excuses for these guys, but there was 28 bugs that they recognized
In the
from
alpha
the
testing.
alpha testing,
Yeah.
and there's
Has to
no
be dealt
sense
with.
in rolling out something that has a lot of bugs. So they're working diligently, and there's probably a 3-week cycle to get all those cleaned up.
Yeah.
And then they'll go into the beta testing
Yeah.
with the concierge. And when they do the beta testing with the concierge, we will have them start to show the agents what's coming, right? Which
Yeah.
I think is an important thing to do as well, so that we can jump on it. And all of these technologies, if you look at jumping on this as a company when it's available, is so important. If we embrace it and help people to use it, because it's fantastic stuff, but it's not that fantastic if it stays in the box.
And if management is not utilizing it or not even aware of it,
Yeah.
and sadly, sometimes that's
reflected.
the case, right?
Yeah.
You meet realtors that are at other Century 21 offices that say, well, I didn't realize I had that, or I wasn't trained on it, right? So I think the embracing of all of that has to start at the top. And I wouldn't say that I'm a techie, but you force yourself to be a techie, right? Because you have to be.
Anthony
So-
would consider himself a techie, right?
Anthony's a
It's,
techie.
you can't just ignore
Go
what's
like
happening.
this, go like this, Anthony, go like this.
Yeah, I took grade 9 typing. That was the best thing. I can do it like that.
I took grade 9 typing too, but it was for the girls, wasn't it? Isn't that why you took it?
Good point.
Right.
Only boy in the class. All
Okay,
right.
there you go. Actual cooking as well. Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Oh
right?
boy! Oh boy!
So what's interesting is that in July we're going to be rolling out mid-July classes on Trendly.
Good.
Obviously with Core 21,
Yeah.
we'll have classes on the Monday classes with that.
Yeah.
We'll incorporate that into Concierge. So if you're hungry for that stuff, ask for it. Talk to your manager. They can certainly help you to get enrolled in that.
Yep.
Okay.
And Dawn mentioned moving forward the Monday classes. It's great to go live. I know I like to be there live, but in the unlikely event you can't go, they're going to be videotaping them as well. So
That's actually on Zoom.
Oh, on
There is-
Zoom,
There is
yeah.
no videotape
Well,
anymore, Anthony.
I
It's,
I
They're
think
live
it might
on Zoom.
is that the VCR, but I think of
there
it
is
as
no
a video.
VCR. It's Zoom.
They're going to be they're going to be Zoom. Well, the reality is, I think I brought up a good point because a lot of people feel that if they're busy and they can't make the meeting, and I always think it's better to go. It's going to be Zoomed.
Yeah. So if you can't make it,
Yeah.
you can still.
There's no reason
still
not to
look at
follow
it.
along.
And our offices that are on the outskirts, like Lindsay, we've
Yeah.
got to make sure that we zoom that. The other thing that's kind of neat to talk about is we had our first meeting for our
Agent Advisory Board.
agent advisory
Or
board.
Agent
Thank you.
Advisory Committee.
Agent
We haven't
Advisory
decided,
Committee.
I don't know if we've
been
decided
calling
on
it
what we're calling it,
committee
but it's one of
report.
those two.
Yeah. And we had 1 or 2 representatives from each office all meet. This is how you basically tell us what we need, what you need. There's suggestion boxes at every office.
Yep.
I've seen them in a few offices. They're empty. We need to put stuff in them. You guys need to tell us what's going on. I've had a few agents tell me. I said talk to Karen, but I'll pass that. Karen is the Markham and Main Street agent advisory committee member,
That's
right.
and these guys meet once a month. And the idea is that we are listening. We do care. We want to find out what's going on. We want your guys' feedback. We value it, and that's the mechanism that we've set up to start.
It's
working
funny,
on
Paul,
that.
because I think a lot of times, and you guys probably get the same thing, where agents will come to you and they'll say, you know, I don't want to complain, but I had a problem with this, or this went wrong, or this didn't work. And my response is always the same, that, look, we can't fix what we don't know is broken. Right. So it's not a bad thing, but I think with a lot of people, they feel that, you know, it's, I don't want to be the complainer, or I don't want to say anything negative, but with all of that stuff, I think it's positive that we find out if there's a problem, therefore we can fix it, right? If something's broke, you know, it's like, oh, okay, that's not working. Hasn't been working for 2 months, and you sit there and you think,
Why didn't you tell me?
why didn't you tell me? It's such a simple thing to
Yeah.
fix, right? So yeah, I think it's great, and I
You
think
just
that
go over and just turn it on.
yeah, you turn it on. That's right. That's right.
And then it works.
And that's happening.
That's right. So I think that that's great, and I think that it gives the agents the opportunity to not feel like they went directly to management to complain. They can put in something in their suggestion box or talk to their rep, and then I think that that's great because it adds that level where they think, well, I don't want to bother Anthony with it, right? He's busy, right? So.
And they can sign their name to it, but if an individual wants to be anonymous with something, I think it doesn't mean we won't
No,
look at it.
I don't.
You don't want that?
All right, I guess
Oh,
we
okay.
can go.
I don't
anonymous,
think
right.
so.
It's all good. Yeah, it's all good.
But it's quite possible you could get a slip of paper in there with
Yeah.
da 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 da, and we don't know who it is. If it's a not a serious complaint, but something that's worth looking at, then go ahead.
Yeah. And the way that this works is that the agent advisory committee meets once a month.
Yep.
They're talking about complaints and challenges and problems and suggestions from all the offices, and it's that committee's job to look at, you know, what is the consensus, what are we working on this month,
Right.
and then on the monthly meetings, which everybody should be attending, at least on Zoom, or watching the video tape of it, right? And the
You know what I meant.
the agent advisory committee member will give an update at the office meeting as to what's going on with improvements and things like that.
Yep.
And we want to hear from you guys. You know, this
Yep,
is
for sure.
we're a big organization, and part of growing and growing pains is that I'm not sitting with everybody all the time.
Yep.
In fact, I work in a dusty attic. Right, it's hard to get up there.
It's
right?
hot up there too.
It's hot up there. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what else? What else have we got? Let's talk about the second wine. So
Yes.
again, just to remind everybody, August 22nd is the 8th annual
Golf tournament?
golf tournament and wine tasting. So what we do at this event, you can be a golfer or not a golfer. I know Anthony always comes to the dinner and the wine tasting, kind of dishevels himself, puts a little water on his forehead,
sweat.
talks about his round. He's never golfed, just so you guys
I did
know.
one- I did.
No,
I
one
did
year?
one time,
One
and it
year,
was
okay.
fun.
8 years, 1 year he golfed. So he talks about his round.
that
How did you do?
The
Yeah.
course
Talks about
looks
the
great.
course.
Yeah.
The course looks great. So you don't have to golf.
I played 6 holes at par. I had an excellent game.
There you go. There you
And
go.
they believe me.
There you go. Yeah, that
I
par
wouldn't
7,
admit.
that par 17 that you hit, you got par on. So you guys can come for the golf and the dinner. You can come for just the dinner and the wine tasting. So it's completely optional. You can bring guests. It's a paid event, so you do pay to attend this event, and it covers a portion of the cost. And certainly we have some wine sponsors. They cover a portion of the cost, and I think it's a great time. I know that we've been growing each year. I think last year we had 94
Yeah,
people
we had a
for
good-
dinner
I think the biggest
and
tournament.
80 people out for golf. So that is on the 22nd of August. So look for your invitation that just went out and register your foursome, and let's get out there and have some fun. And if you don't golf, doesn't matter. You can still come out and have some fun.
The
with
wine
that.
is worth it in itself.
The wine is worth it. So what we're going to do is we're going to just try the second wine now, and this one is a Chateauneuf de Pape, and this is a 2007. I think the first one was, no, sorry, 2008 Chateauneuf de Pape. So all from the Rhone Valley, and that's your tall glass.
This one here,
And,
yeah.
and I want you guys to just give that one a try and tell me how you think that compares against the first one. Steve, you want to try a little bit of that second wine?
I would absolutely love to, actually.
Thank you very much, sir.
There you go.
Cheers. Cheers, Steve.
Cheers, salut.
Cheers.
So what do you guys think? Which one do you prefer?
I prefer the first one.
Okay.
I don't know how to describe the second one. A little bit more tangy, if that's proper wine terminology.
Tanny?
Tannic. Yeah.
Okay. A little more tannic. Okay.
Tannic?
Yeah.
Okay,
Tannic.
so there you
Okay,
go.
yeah,
It's a little
okay.
bit more tannic.
Yeah.
Are you getting the same?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
You know, a lot of these Chateauneufs, and it's interesting because I've been drinking Chateauneufs for years, and it's interesting that most Chateauneufs were probably in the 13.5 to 14.5% alcohol content.
Okay.
Right?
What are these?
And the first one was 15.
Oh.
The second one is 15.5.
Ooh.
Oh, wow, that's high.
Very high.
Yeah.
Right? and it could be as well that with that extra half a point that you're finding the little bit higher alcohol content takes a little bit away from the fruit.
Yeah.
Sometimes with age that will diminish, right? But both excellent wines. But so far, the 06 has.
And were these both rated good years, Paul, for that region?
Yeah. Just so you know, not to be cocky, but the trend is anything from my cellar is
That's
Is
what I
rated
kind of
good.
figured,
from
right?
a great year. So we have 3 Chateauneufs. We have a 94, a 95, and a 97 rated wine
Wow.
that we're trying here tonight.
Wow.
All Wine Spectator ratings. So this is all the cream of the crop.
Excellent.
Right? So yeah, all good years.
You're spoiling us, Paul.
Too bad you don't have
You know what?
anything-
We're getting a little bit cocky with
Well,
this.
I would
right?
think so.
Well, yeah, I prefer this
Well,
one.
I-
My one's a 97.
I don't know why you don't have
the other
something
one's a
from the
96.
60s, from the 60s, like some of my antiques.
There you go. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the first wine to me is way more drinkable, way more pleasant, right?
Yeah, that's
Now,
the right word.
it-
Pleasant.
Comparison.
And I think that the other thing that happens, especially with the Chateauneuf, we're out here having a little bit of cheese and crackers by the pool, but these wines are meat wines.
Yeah.
Right? So we
Okay.
really need to have some meat with these. And,
Yeah.
Fire up
and
the barbecue.
If
Yeah.
you have some meat with that second wine, you may find
Tastes
that
different.
that's going to be a little bit different. So you gotta
Grab
look
a steak
at that as
with
well.
that one.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, let's move back. We'll wait for a bit to try our third
third?
wine till we empty one of those glasses, and let's talk a little bit about the launch of Broker Bay.
Oh
Yeah, for sure.
Tass, what
That's been.
what have you found? And what have you
It
heard
is
from
great.
your-
You know, we launched it actually without a hitch, which was great. On I think it was June 25th, if I'm not mistaken. So interestingly enough, our realtors weren't really aware that we were launching this, and
Even though we sort of told them.
which is kind of great because there was no issue, like other than the fact that I think for most of them, because their settings were set up in a way where they were getting instant updates on, for instance, new listings.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit about how this works. So they just saw that they were getting their notifications differently than they used to. So it was kind of like, hey, what's going on? Well, that's Broker Bay. And then I had my monthly meeting just on this Tuesday, so that was our topic, and we did talk about it and go over it. And everybody is loving the abilities,
Now, did
right?
they come out and present?
No,
or
this
that's
was
gonna be-
just my
this was
regular
just
scheduled
a little
meeting,
bit of
right?
Overview of that. No, because we had talked about Do we want to present that at
Yeah.
the office meetings, or do we want to schedule training? I think we ended up scheduling
Yeah,
training.
I think
Is that what we did?
I think what is happening with that is scheduled training plus some sort of podcast or videotapes, as Anthony would like to say.
It's just a standard word.
Yes.
It's just terminology.
Yeah, it's like saying, get me a Kleenex. You know what a Kleenex
Okay,
is.
Yeah.
that's
So if you videotape something, we know what that means.
So what's interesting, Paul, is the keeners that had already gone on and started, doing stuff with it, were like, wow, this is amazing, right? I think everybody loves the added abilities. I think a huge plus is the ability to market exclusive listings on there. Going back to the whole condo market, that's such
Assignments.
a huge part of our business now. And there's so many assignments. And as we know, most developers have a non-advertised clause in their contract.
Non-MLS clause.
Or non-MLS, yeah. So this allows the agents to put that out to not just the local agents in their office, but all agents that are on Broker Bay. So I think there's like 7,000 now, right?
Yeah.
So that's great. So now all of a sudden you can put your listing in front of your exclusive listing in front of 7,000 other realtors, right?
It's actually the largest database in Ontario of exclusive and coming soon listings. It is available on Broker Bay.
Yeah,
That is the
that's
largest,
fantastic.
database.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah, no, it's...
And I think also with, especially with the, we'll say the more techie agents, the fact that the ability to communicate with their sellers electronically and have their sellers confirm appointments electronically, everybody is saying that's a huge plus.
Yeah.
Right. That their clients are loving that. Okay, I don't need to call the office. The office doesn't need to talk to me. And in most cases, stuff like that, that's the way I want to be communicated with, right? If I'm selling my house, do I really want the office to call me? Oh, does someone want to come at 4 o'clock? I'd rather just get an email and click, yes,
but having
confirmed.
But having said that, when you look at the old way, which was the state of the art at its time, is that they call the seller, and the seller says okay, and then they call back the other office, and then the other office puts it into the system. The reality, what I found, and I totally agree with the agent side of it, this is part of it, but in talking to the ladies at front desk, there was the fear, oh, it's the launch date, oh, this is going to be very difficult. I'm pleased to hear that they didn't find it difficult. In fact, the opposite, Paul, that they see the benefit in it. And statistically, there was, at busy times, 100 appointments or 120 appointments sitting in the queue, and they felt that they could never get through it and getting themselves a little on the stress side and never getting caught up and grabbing the appointments. And we've seen it down as low as 15 or 20. Not that we've slowed down, it's just as busy, but that a lot of it is just sort of automated. Where
it's way more efficient.
So it's been a very positive thing. You like my language?
I like your language.
Because it's clear.
Because you
I call it the way it is.
You were questioning me all the way along.
Yes.
And
I wasn't-
rightly so. Not questioning me, but you were challenging me all the way through.
Well, because
and now you see that.
Oh, absolutely.
It is.
And I wasn't questioning you, but
It's okay.
the
Anthony,
part
it's
of
okay.
It is good.
Okay. It's okay. It's
but
good. That's what you're
this is a
supposed to do.
positive thing that the thought process was, how much pressure is this really going to take off the front desk?
Yeah.
You're making it sound like a miracle pill. So the good news is, in speaking to the ladies at the front desk, they absolutely love it.
Yeah.
They like it. Now, my thoughts with Broker Bay, and there's nothing like the perfect world other than where we are, is that if more brokerages were involved, or all the brokerages involved, it would even be a lot more amazing. So I know that that's the high order. Not every brokerage, whether they're small or large, are going to just jump on it, but it's still, I would say, a little bit on the early stages. I don't know the stats, but in the perfect world, if more brokerages jump on, that'll even make it a lot more
Sure.
efficient.
So there's 7,000 of 55,000.
Yeah.
So
so there's a
that's
number.
Small
But it
percentage,
would make a
right?
big difference.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And the truth is that we are utilizing the system, and there's way more that we can do as we learn to use it, set things up the right
There's a
way.
lot more, yeah.
There's way more efficiencies, and I've done some surveys with the front desk girls. They love it. It's intuitive, and that's really the way software of
Easy
the
to
future
use,
is. Is you don't need the instruction manual.
Yep.
Yeah. Like
It's
the old
just
quick office. Yeah.
Intuitive. It's obvious.
It's obvious,
right?
yep.
And you know, sometimes for guys Anthony's age, it may.
Well, the quick office had the big manual, right? When they,
Well, you know what's
they
interesting, though?
improved it, but it was like you needed the manual.
Even generally, Anthony, right?
Yeah.
You buy products nowadays, and there's no instructions anymore, right? With a lot of stuff, it's just kind of plug it in.
Oh, okay.
And you just figure it out, right? It's just so simple. It's like Paul said,
Self-conceiving,
Yes, it's intuitive, and,
Yeah.
and you don't need a big thick manual.
You just need a half a
plug
brain.
and play, right?
Just a
It's
half
like,
a brain.
Here's the 3 questions. You answered them, and you're up and running, which is fantastic.
Good point.
And the truth is that with Broker Bay, Anthony, there is so much more that we can do as we teach our agents to understand, to use the new showing sheet to make sure they fill that out properly.
Correctly, yeah.
So
We have to work on
you
that.
can actually have a vacant property that, and everything is authenticized through their Toronto MLS numbers, what they're using to sign in, and basically I go online and I book a vacant property, and as soon as I look at my phone, it's
Done.
confirmed.
Yeah.
Everything is all done because that process is all automated. So they've taken the steps that can be automated and they've automated them. And what they've also done is they've included the consumer in the process.
Yeah.
So a lot of times our staff hasn't dealt with it, but the consumer has already confirmed it.
Yeah.
And when the consumer confirms it,
It's
that
automated.
puts it into the system.
It's automated.
And it's automated.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to, explain it to our agents, get our agents to be involved with it. But from their standpoint, understanding the coming soon, the exclusive network, the advantages of all that. So
I think
it
even
went without
generally
a hitch.
speaking, Paul, right? So I think that the clock's kind of disappearing in terms of if you have agents that are taking advantage of doing showings right from TRAD as well, right?
Yeah.
So they could be doing that at 1 o'clock in the morning, right? So if I'm on the computer at 1 a.m. looking at my product that I want to book for the following day, what would you usually do? You'd make a list of them and then wait till 9 o'clock to call the office to book all these appointments. Why not just click the button? Here's the 3 properties, and then morning time comes and you have all your confirmations, right? So it really is fantastic, right?
Yeah. So it's going well. They've got a lot of things. They're listening, as we look at automating. We've even got Broker Bay working with our tech company with Central 21 Canada to look at a single sign-on. So what we're looking
that would
at
be
with our
great.
Gmail and stuff is a single sign-on, looking at that same single sign-on to include all of that stuff.
That would be
your back
fantastic.
office dashboard, the whole ball of wax. So
all good.
it's
It's
been
good stuff.
it's been very good, very good. So I need you guys to empty out a glass. So one of the 2 glasses, empty out the other one, Anthony. Because we're
Is
just
the
going to go.
second one?
I put the 3rd one in that glass, so I'll get you to empty out that one. And the 3rd one that we're going to try is a
Baby.
2015. So it's the young stuff. Chateau de Beaucastle. And
So that's not common, Paul, I guess, to be having a wine that's only 4 years old.
so when you say it's not common, so if you look at going to a
I mean,
restaurant,
vintage wines,
yeah.
obviously.
So if you
right?
go to a restaurant, that's all you're going to get.
Yes.
Right? You're not going to get an 06, an 08,
Yes.
right? That's not, unless you're at a real
Yep.
quality restaurant, you're not going to get those kind of aged wines. So the idea is that, is this one drinkable now?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm experimenting on on the group here, the team of wine experts that we've acquired here.
Generally
And,
speaking, I meant for you would be buying this to cellar it and wait. In most
yes,
cases, I'm guessing,
I-
right?
I have bought a couple of bottles of this, and it is It is in my cellar, and this is the first time we're trying it, and we're seeing if it's ready to go. So let's give that. So this is a Chateau de Beaucastel, also Chateauneuf. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, cheers, Taz.
Cheers.
You got an empty glass yet?
I do.
All right.
Come over and
Wine
have a
number
little-
3, Steve.
Let's try it out. Number one's in the lead so far for me.
You concur with number one?
I do.
Okay.
They just copied.
Yeah, you know,
They know.
it's like Janakakis says number one is the wine,
And I agree.
and then everybody just follows suit.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the
Well,
other
this is
thing that's
interesting.
interesting is that when you look at tasting wines, you've got to look a little bit deeper, right? So, what are your initial thoughts on
A little
on
bit
this?
boring
Okay.
compared to the other two.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And I know I'm not using the right terminology again, but
I've actually.
I go with
I've
what
actually-
comes to my mind.
I've
Well,
never
I've criticized
heard,
everything.
I've never heard on
Wine?
the wine description. It's a little bit boring.
compared to the other two.
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Now give it a good stir and look at the nose. The nose is certainly more fruit forward
It does,
than
yep.
the second one. I do agree with you that the taste has not got that fruit forward
That the first one had.
that the first one had, right? And that just could be a matter of age. But you not
It's
agree
nice.
on the nose? It's
Yeah,
The nose,
it's
you can,
amazing, right?
it goes right into the
So,
nostrils.
what do you think of that one, Anthony? Did you try it yet?
I have, and I'm debating whether I like this better than the first. That's what I'm trying to convince myself. There's something about it because
Yeah.
you mentioned the nose. I kind of did this, and then it goes well.
Yeah.
The fragrance.
Yeah.
But the taste, I know what you mean by boring. It's not as sharp.
Yeah.
But it kind of grows on you. So I have to give it a little more thought.
Yeah.
I think I'm going with the order that we drank them in, Paul. That's my first choice. My second choice is the second one, and this is my third choice.
Okay. So what's
The nose is nice on. I prefer the nose on this one to
Yeah.
the second one.
Right.
But taste-wise, I prefer the second one to this one.
Right. And what's interesting is that the highest rated wine is the third one.
It's the third one.
Yeah. So that is a 97 rated Wine
Wow.
Spectator
Wow.
wine. An amazing year, an amazing wine. And what we're seeing with it is that it's too young
young.
to drink. Okay.
Yeah.
And in wine, the young stuff isn't always good, right? So you've got to.
In wine.
In wine.
In wine.
In
Oh, I
wine.
just need you to
In
clarify.
wine, he hesitated
Sorry.
there.
No, I didn't hesitate.
No, okay.
I didn't hesitate.
I'm just trying to understand the language.
So what's interesting though, and that's why I wanted you to appreciate the bouquet
Yes.
and the nose on that wine. To me, that wine has the nicest nose,
Yes.
and I see as a wine guy that one's going to evolve into an amazing wine.
Amazing wine, yeah.
It's just not coming on August 22nd.
Yeah.
Right? It's not ready. It's not ready.
Yeah. It's almost a waste because you know it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a waste to drink it already.
And,
right?
and we have 5 cases of that.
We can sell her
Bouquet.
that for a while.
Yeah, we can settle that for a while. That may be, I'm thinking 23, 24 maybe.
Yep.
The golf tournament, 23, 24. That's when the Beaucastel will come
Are you
out
playing
as
that
the-
one, Anthony?
Are you playing that
I'll
one,
be-
or
I'll
are you
be right
gonna?
there. No, I've
you're
got the
gonna-
foursome all lined up.
There you go.
You know why I enjoyed playing the one time I did?
Yeah.
Because Clarissa,
Yeah.
Rob's daughter, is
Yeah.
it Clarissa, right? So, this is a great idea because she was part of the foursome. Man, she would just go, and the ball would be just at the green or whatever like that. So mine that kind of went in the bush, I got to pick it up and put it right beside.
Oh, 'cause we're
and I
playing best
learned
ball.
one thing. It's called best ball. So I had an awesome game. I thought it was very
That's the
fair.
key. That's the key.
It was a great.
Now,
it was a lot of
My
fun.
question to you though is, did they ever use your ball?
Once, I think. I think once I had beginner's luck, it went just beautiful. The swing, everything, once. But 99% of the time, she's an amazing. She had an amazing swing.
Well,
and she
Rob's a
gave-
good golfer. So.
Well, I'm sure she must have learned from her dad.
Yeah.
But it was a great idea.
I remember
was
going out
'cause
one
of the
year.
fun.
We had Wilf Mandel. Remember Wilf?
Oh yeah.
And,
That was in his foursome.
when he got the hole in one?
Yeah.
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 So we're
Oh, he got the home.
yeah, he got a hole in one. So
He's
we're
a
at-
non-golfer.
He's a non-golfer.
Oh,
We're at
my
the Leading
Lord.
Edge Golf Tournament. He hits the ball. It travels 1 meter above the ground.
1 meter.
1 meter above the ground.
It was an
goes-
elevated hole.
Yeah.
right?
It goes
Oh, I see.
way off to the right.
Yeah.
Turns in.
No.
Yeah. On the green. In the hole.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he's looking at it, right? And he's looking and he's looking. And we're playing with Steve Tarr, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Steve's looking and he says, it's holy shit. It's in the hole.
No
And Wilf
way.
is like, really? And he says, buddy, he says, do you see your ball on the green? He goes, you don't. It's in the
Too
hole.
bad there wasn't a prize for that.
Oh,
And yeah, it was not the
It was,
the
yeah, it
prize
was not
hole.
the prize hole. That's
No.
right.
Oh.
That's right. So
yeah.
it was a hole in one.
Because you hear of people getting a car or large sums of money
We give away large sums of money, cars at our tournament. Absolutely.
for hole in ones.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. You get any? You get one?
I did get a
not
hole
the
in one.
only
No.
one I've ever seen. Have you seen any other than Wilf's, Paul? Hole in one?
Well, I've seen. I've never had one myself as a golfer,
Yeah.
but I've probably seen 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Have you come close?
I have come close. I actually in a car hole in one course,
Oh.
I rolled it just over the hole and was about 8 inches past the hole.
Oh.
Just rolled over, right?
That's hard.
Um,
Oh, that's
yeah.
hard to take.
Yeah, it's all good. It's
Oh.
all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to go with the
numero uno?
06
The number
Yeah,
one.
no, that's great.
for
That's
the-
my
for
first
the premier
choice.
wine.
Good choice.
Or we'll have a party and drink it all before the golf tournament. One of the two. We'll figure out what to do.
great.
Steve, do we have any questions from our audience?
We do. I also think you guys have covered a lot of them because we had
Okay.
some Broker Bay, a couple of the other systems, but there's a few on here that I think are still relevant. So one of them, we talked about this before, but I think it's become a little more in the forefront as far as the public's concerned. Someone wrote in talking about seeing a lot of advertising for Purple Bricks commercials, things of that nature. And they wanted to ask what the difference was between hiring that company or contracting them and utilizing a real estate agent.
Okay, great question. You guys had any agents go up against Purple Bricks or talk about that at all?
Have not yet.
No?
None that I've heard of, anyways.
Right, okay. And interesting that question should come up today because I actually had a little article on Purple Bricks.
How timely.
He's prepared for everything.
Well, why don't you read the article?
You know what they say is when you go on a presentation, what do you take? Everything,
Everything.
right?
That's
You have
right.
to take everything. So it's interesting. So just a little info on Purple Bricks. So Purple Bricks is a flat fee brokerage that started in the UK, and they actually raised $600 million, opened in Los Angeles, California, started to get things going in there. They had moved to Australia. They were doing things in Australia, and there's a announcement that came out on July 3rd, so yesterday came out. Purple Bricks announces on Wednesday that it is shutting all U.S. operations for their flat fee brokerage in the U.S. And they are also closing down all of their operations in Australia.
U.S.
So-
and Australia.
U.S. on Australia and
Wow.
Australia. So the idea is that and there's a bunch of stuff in the article. A former employee, I'm not surprised, from May 2019, witnessed many missteps, misunderstanding of the U.S. market relative to the UK market, and there's no doubt that different marketplaces are different,
Yeah.
right? And certainly with Purple Bricks, they are a low fee or a flat fee listing company, And what happens is that everything is not the same. The real estate market in Canada, in the U.S., in the U.K., in Australia is different. So they are exiting and folding operations as of July 3rd in the U.S. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars in there, and they're closing down. Now, a lot of times that people look at that and say, oh, well, that means that they're done here too. And the truth is that in Canada, what they had done is they had purchased Comfree, which is originally a for sale by owner company. And they also purchased Duprier, which is and I probably didn't say that correctly. I have the French wine, but I don't parler the français.
S'il vous plaît.
S'il vous plaît. Ce soir. Okay.
Whatever.
I'm digressing there. As a result, they purchased those companies in Canada, and things in Canada are still moving ahead. So they are continuing operations in the UK, they are continuing operations in Canada, and they are a flat fee company. We had a couple of our agents go up against agents from Purple Bricks, and it's interesting. So they have a lot of, I would say, misleading advertising, right? Where they say it's no commission, it's a flat fee, and then it's a fee for service. So one of our agents went up against them, and the listing fee is $800. But if you want to have showings, if you want to have this, if you want to have that, then it's plus, 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 plus. And we ended up getting that listing, and it didn't work out for them. But the bottom line is that it is really more like a for sale by owner type company. It is, I looked at their production, and they've done in Ontario, they've done 260 transactions. We have our top agent did 340 transactions, so they're equivalent to one of our top agent, right? So they're making headway, but is it changing the world? Not yet, but it's something to look at. And because they are purchased Comfree, it is more along that for sale by owner type model.
Is it similar to, Paul, the analogy of a mere posting in that, is it clear with Purple Bricks, other than them just saying, here's a flat fee, I'll post it on MLS, is it clear with their system that they make it an offering for a co-op broker? Or, because you remember when the mere posting was the new kid on the block, here you can, you give me $500 and I'll put it on MLS, but I do nothing for you. And then the comment would be, here's the seller's phone number, you try and do what you want to do, you negotiate.
Yeah.
Do they do it like that, or is it all over the map?
Yeah, so I think, have you seen any listings with that?
I think that
you know what I mean?
what I find that I think is misleading with especially with their ads, is that, I didn't pay a commission, right? No, they pay a flat fee to Purple Bricks,
Right.
and then they also
pay a
have the
commission
seller
pay
offer a commission to the
co-op
co-op
broker.
broker.
So they are pretty well
so
offering.
they are paying a commission. That's why I think that the ads are misleading, right? Because they say, you didn't pay commission? No, it's a flat fee. But what they're not saying is...
Well, they actually don't say, no, it's a flat fee. They say, no,
There's
no commission.
So-
But generally, it's a
they're
flat.
offering 2.5.
It's
to
a
the
flat
co-op.
fee to them, depending on what your a la carte order is, right? And then you're offering a commission to the co-op, right?
And they do put a co-op commission in there,
Okay.
so a little bit different than the mere posting
where you go get luck.
scenario.
Yeah.
But it is, I think myself that the for sale by owner industry took a nosedive when they started the mere posting.
Yeah.
They thought it was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread.
You're right.
I can tell you that Comfree had, before Purple Bricks bought it out, they had 4,600 transactions for the year.
Well,
Right? And then there's transition and stuff like that, and that number is going to change. But now they had 263.
yeah.
No, not I looked at it today, 263 to the end of May, right? So that's what they had. So, you know, it is great to have competition, and we're not knocking any competition, but it is a difference, and you need to understand your competition.
Yep, I agree.
And then when you look at competition, you know, not to expand on this question too much,
It's a good
but
question.
but the idea is that, you know, a lot of the talk in the U.S. is on really Purple Bricks is folded in the U.S., so not a lot of talk about that. But the big talk is about the companies that actually buy the house. So
Yeah.
Compass, several other companies, Zillow is doing this as well, where it is email and they give you an offer for your house.
Yeah.
So this is one of the biggest areas in the U.S. that is having traction. And, you know, I was reading another article today that talks about the Toronto marketplace having the highest cost of sale irrelevant of the sale. So when we look at $1 million house in Toronto,
Yep.
what is the land transfer tax,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
You know what it is?
No. You have to count.
Well,
what it
it's
is?
double in
It's-
Toronto because
yeah,
it's
double
416.
Toronto.
So
But are you going to use the formula?
I don't know what it is, but I saw something that said it's probably
Lot.
$36,000 is and don't quote me on that.
Yep.
But the
Probably
idea
not far
is that prevents that, you know, email offer sheet
Yeah.
type of marketplace happening in Toronto
Yeah.
because of the high cost of transition, the high tax costs, right?
And because of the high value of the properties. So
Yeah.
that number seems really big because
Yeah.
it's a percentage that they charge you,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
they're going to take a percentage to buy your house, right? And I think that,
huge.
sure, because I think, Anthony, when your house is $1 million or $2 million, you think, oh, wow, that's a lot of money to pay someone.
Yeah.
Now, if your house is in a market where it's 300,000
Yeah.
or 200,000, guess what? I think that number doesn't sound as daunting anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what's 5% on a $300,000 house? You figure, well, that's not much,
15,000,
right?
Just
Yeah,
to do the
no, I
math.
know.
for you.
Yeah.
But no, do 5% on $2 million. You
Yeah.
think, well,
Wait a minute.
that's a brand new car. That's 100,000, right? So
What the hell
I can
kind
do
of car are
something
you
with it,
driving?
right?
That's 3 cars for me. What are you talking about?
You kidding?
So
Okay,
yeah,
you guys are the car guys. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, don't go
sorry.
get into that.
I have to
Get me going.
stop there.
but yeah, I see where that would be a challenge in a market where real estate is pricey, right? And I think, and I know we've chatted about this in the past, is where they are getting traction is in areas where the real estate is relatively inexpensive.
Yeah, so
right?
so certainly in the marketplaces in Phoenix, Arizona, Texas, Austin, where they started, they are.
Well, they
we got,
found
we
you.
got the paparazzi. They got the paparazzi coming in here.
They found you.
Kawhi's not here.
Yeah. Yeah. So they've got the majority of that marketplace, as you say, is in that 200,000 in that lower price range.
Yeah.
Those are who are doing that. But it is very interesting to look at, you know, the whole dynamics of the different models that are coming
Yes,
in.
yes.
Purple Bricks worked in the UK, didn't work in Australia, didn't work in the US,
US.
but seems to be with the purchase of the ComFree or the
ComFree.
for sale by owner seems to be doing okay in Canada, but is a very small percentage of what they used to do as ComFree.
No, I think the other part of that is, Paul, they're doing quote unquote okay and spending a ton of money on advertising.
Right.
So how long can they last?
Precisely,
How long
Anthony.
can they
How long
last?
can you run primetime commercials
Doing sort of
just
okay.
doing okay?
200, 300 deals.
Yeah, and
In a
you look
year.
at it, if you do 300 deals at $800 a deal, that's 240,000.
That's
But they don't
Your
get it all.
advertising budget. I don't know if I'm doing the math right there.
Yeah.
Steve, do the math there. 800 times 300 is 240,000.
800 times 300.
times 800 times 300. Yeah.
Yep, 240,000.
Okay, so you'd think it'd be 2.4 million. So their advertising budget is in the millions. So again,
sure.
doesn't seem to be working. So
the time will
they
run out.
are pulled out of the U.S., pulled out of Australia,
Yeah.
still in Canada, but
now.
let's see what happens, right?
for now.
And you know, you've got to be aware of the competition, and you've got to be able to compete with them and understand them.
Yep.
So
Yep, I agree.
A lot of different markets coming in into play. Any other questions, Steve? Or
You know what, Steve? Before you go to the next one, just maybe where should we have people send in questions? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. So comment on any of the videos that we're posting on.
they found us. We're here.
Absolutely. So commenting on any of the videos that we're posting on Facebook, Instagram, any of our social media. If it's a question, we're keeping most of these anonymous unless we feel like there's some benefit of saying somebody's name. But alternatively, they can DM us on the Century 21 Leading Edge Instagram, or DM us / PM us on the Century 21 Leading Edge Facebook business page. Exactly.
And just for
exactly
Anthony, DM is direct message. Okay, just.
I do know that.
Or you can send a video.
Alternatively, if people are more comfortable and they're kind of within the Vendetta network, feel free to reach out on any of our social media platforms as well.
And Anthony's number is 560-2004.
That's right.
You can call him and ask any questions that you
And I'll
want.
give it to you.
416.
416-5602, and I'll give it to you straight.
Yeah, I'll give it to you straight.
Was this wine number 1, Paul?
Yeah.
I'll have some more of that.
All right, so
Next question.
I have a feeling this person knows you guys or something.
Oh.
Where do you think Kawhi's going to be playing next year?
He will be in Toronto. I say that with utmost actually, let me backtrack, okay? So, apparently, I don't know if he was actually in Toronto yesterday for sure. But if he was in Toronto yesterday and flew into Toronto yesterday, then I would say 100% he's staying in Toronto, because he wouldn't come here the day before 4th of July celebrations in the U.S. just for no reason. So if he was going to the States
That's a good
to
point.
play, he would have stayed there. He wouldn't have come back here to say, see ya, right? So I think now, I don't know if it was 100% confirmed, because they had, it was like the OJ chase, right? They had people coming out of the jet, but you couldn't see who was in the jet. And then they went to the Hazelton Hotel. So my wife calls me and says, oh, they're at the Hazelton Hotel. And we had my 50th birthday party there. I said, this is an omen, right? This is a sign. I had my 50th birthday party there.
Half a century.
Kawhi went there to sign his contract. I go, it's going to happen today. Now, they didn't announce it.
And just so you guys know, Tass has went to the majority of the playoff games, and
I went to
so
a few.
he is the okay. He went to a few.
He's the
I went to it.
So he
I was
is-
at the buzzer game,
He
okay?
is the authority. He was actually, you saw the guy waving behind Kawhi when he made that shot. That was Jared Cochran. That was him. Is that where you're courtside seats, right?
Not courtside.
No,
but,
not courtside.
Not courtside, but
Okay.
but yeah,
Okay.
no, it was.
I
was
didn't get any
excellent season.
phone calls with an invite to any of those games, but that's okay.
It was definitely a great season. So the answer is Kawhi is staying.
Okay. Next question. Why didn't you invite Paul to any of the basketball games?
You're joking. No, he's making that
They
up.
weren't my tickets.
That's a good one.
No, so this one's a bit more serious. This is actually I
Listen,
looked them up,
they're
but
more
they-
serious than Kawhi?
Yeah,
More
I
serious
think
than
so.
Kawhi.
I looked them up. It was a Remax agent, so we'll keep them nameless. They were saying that they've noticed a shift in their office in terms of agents that seem to be succeeding in this market versus the market that we were dealing with 2 years ago. So they're asking, have you noticed a shift in the agents at your office succeeding in this market versus the seller's market we were dealing with previously? If so, what do you feel the differentiator is between those agents and why that would be?
Okay. So
Interesting. So I don't know if I've noticed a shift. my assumption there is that I think what he's trying to indicate is that when the market was super hot, anybody could sell a house, and now the market isn't super hot, so you need some skill to sell a house,
Right. And I think that's exactly what his situation was kind of like on fire for the last few years when we're in that
Yeah.
hardcore seller's market.
Yeah.
Now that it's shifted to a bit more balanced or more of a buyer's market, depending on who you talk to, he's just curious, like what you feel that differentiator would be, or what would have caused that shift for people.
Well, I think the agents that have the systems, like again, you know, if things just happen, someone calls off your sign, the listing just sells in the first 10 seconds, that's not really working the system. So any professional agent that has systems that works marketing the property, and you know, instead of the DOM being 2 days, 3 days, a week, if it takes 31 days, the reason a successful agent today that works the system can generate leads from that, do some marketing from that, promote it through their media, you know, and this is how they develop more contacts and do more business from it. They prefer getting a listing that might take 30 days on the market, but get 3 sales from it, another listing and 2 buyers. So an agent that understands that, and then I don't know if that's where this question was leading up to, but that's how I see it. So an agent that utilizes the technology, utilizes the marketing and all that is going to better benefit in a market that's like this, rather than just bam slam, thank you, ma'am. How's that for an answer?
I think Bungaro's coming a long way,
Okay.
right, in terms of his his embracing technology and what's happening. And I think that you hit the nail on the head.
Well, thank you.
Is that agents need to adapt. So the agents that continue to be successful are adapting to the change in the market. And, you know, it's interesting that, you know, everybody uses the same MLS system.
Right.
So a lot of what agents do in terms of putting the home on the market is similar, but what is different is, what are they doing with marketing?
Right.
What are they doing with staging and how they prepare the homes?
Right.
Yep.
These are the differentiators.
Yep.
And the agents that understand that and are making the headway in there, those are the ones that are continuing to be successful. And the other big part about it is that the agents that work hard and have the nose to the grindstone, are making their calls, you know, doing the business, those are the ones that are successful when things slow down. So it goes from order taker to businessman.
Yeah.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, Anthony. I'm like super impressed with your technological know-how and prowess now.
I think he just basically said they're working. The ones that are working.
Is that what he said?
Yeah. He basically said if you're working, you're going to do
Said
fine.
it made it sound like
He
it was
said it very
all
diplomatic.
technology.
Yeah.
I use the language of today.
Yes.
Please.
I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and I want to make a commitment that we're going to be back again next month. We're not going to take a little hiatus like we just did.
Yep.
So Paul Barron, broker of record, Century 21 Leading Edge, signing off.
Anthony Bungaro, broker partner, Century 21 Leading Edge. Thank you.
Tasis Giannakakis, and signing off, and thanks for joining us, guys.
Yes, and remember, the 2006 will be maybe the top wine at the August 22nd golf tournament.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vendetta.
Cheers to you guys.